most of being healthy or not comes from the proper lifestyle choices, and that the better choices a person makes, the more likely that their body will be able to rise up to the occasion and heal anything that pops up or, might not pop up along the way.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is Dr. Barbara Hale, and we're going to chat about the changing state of healthcare. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and bring balance to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. While you're there, you can sign up for a monthly email where I share the best articles I read this month, let you know about upcoming episodes, and share a little wisdom. You can also listen to coaching calls under the Coaching Calls tab. I also share the most interesting articles I read every week on Facebook at facebook.com/Richer Soul. And there's also a Facebook group where you can ask questions and interact with other listeners. Today's quote comes from Dan Miller. Hoping the economy gets better will have little impact on assuring your success. Making yourself better will guarantee your success. In uncertain times, you need to always be making yourself better, learning new skills, and leveling up. I know, I'm always learning something new. And the cool thing is, we're going to have Dan Miller on the podcast in a few weeks to talk about this very topic. Speaking of leveling up and change, I recently read Disrupt You, Master Personal Transformation, Seize Opportunity, and Thrive in the Era of Endless Innovation by Jay Samit. If you don't disrupt yourself and the company you are part of, someone else will. We can't sit still because the world is constantly changing. The book has some great insights, and Jay shares how he constantly disrupts the companies and industries he was part of. If you're a business owner, check out my other podcast, Profit Answer Man, where I help business owners ensure they are always profitable. As I explained in the previous episode, this interview is part of a series I did at Podmax. It's a little shorter than normal, and we have it as a bonus episode this week. Our guest this week is Dr. Barbara Hale, who has an excess of 30 years of professional involvement in the healthcare field. She is a uniquely qualified writer for the medical and health market. As a medical doctor, she worked in obstetrics and gynecology, starting from opening a practice with no patients to one of over 10,000 active patients. So she knows what works and what doesn't work in terms of marketing a medical practice. She's an expert SEO marketer and boosts search engine ranks for her clients in addition to promoting them to help them grow their practice. She is a best-selling author and was inducted into the National Academy of Best-Selling Authors. She also has a number of media appearances, including guest spots on The Brian Tracy Show and Health and Wellness Today. Additionally, she's been featured in Newsweek magazine. While not actively working, she enjoys tennis, golfing, photography, and scuba diving. Let's meet our guest. Welcome to Rich Your Soul, Barbara Hale. It's great to have you join us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
I know there's a lot I want to learn from you today, and I'm excited for you to be here, but we always like to start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
Well, in those days, we got an allowance. No, children were not entitled. If you wanted to buy something or spend something, you had to save it. And in those days, allowance was 10 cents a week or 5 cents a week. But in order to get that, we had to clean the room, make your bed, do some vacuuming, maybe babysit your younger brother or sister. It wasn't a given. So I think that it taught you really early on that there was value to that 10 cents and that 10 cents added up and that it came with work that you had to provide. It wasn't just a welfare state in the house. It wasn't a given. So I think that made you appreciate from the beginning that, hard work for the fruits of your labor so that you could buy what it is that you wanted to get.
And that's very true. We had allowances for our kids. It was a little bit more because times have changed. Inflation's hit. So we did give them a little bit more. We didn't make them do chores for the money because I didn't want to have financial fights with them. I didn't want them to create these mindsets around money and have negative feelings. And so we did create essentially the welfare state. But along the same lines, if they wanted more, they had the ability to work more and to earn more. And I think I probably should have spent more on the entrepreneurial side to force them to figure out how to do things to make more and to learn more. But you live and learn, and everyone's got to figure out how best to teach their kids about money.
Well, I think that if children know where your head is at and what you expect of them, then, and there are no surprises, that they rise to the occasion. I find in families when children are in their teens or later and they say, wow, I didn't know that that's what you expected of me, or I didn't know that's what you thought. Whether that's true or not, is not the issue. The fact is that, they're not trying because they don't realize that you have certain expectations of them.
And I think that's why we gave them the money, because with giving them the money, we began to have conversations and set the expectations and let them fail and try things and let them learn by doing. I can read all the books on golf I want. It's not going to help me until I swing a club. So that was our main thing. Put the money in their hands and let them learn. And they've learned some pretty good lessons. They're both phenomenal with spending. So from that standpoint, it's good.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think along those lines, to have children even have their own checkbook or their own credit card where they really have a budget and they know that, it's there partially for emergencies, but, for what they would like to save up for, something that they would perhaps like to purchase that maybe you as a parent would think that was frivolous. I think that's great for them to understand the prospect of, allocation of funds. I also think that it's important, in my belief, to let them know that when money comes in that they've earned, not for me, but, like for any side jobs that they do, that a certain percent, let's say 10%, should be set aside for charity, for people who are less fortunate, that don't have the ability to make the money, or who don't have a supportive family, or who don't give them allowance, for people that need it more, to be able to blindly give to somebody who is less fortunate.
And we did that with the kids. So when we gave them money, they had rules. A certain part went to charity. And then what was left was split 50-50. Half went to savings and half went to spending. So we taught them how to save, and we taught them how to give, and we taught them how to spend and how to save up to buy better things and how to make wise financial decisions.
That's wonderful as a parent. So then when they grow up, they really already have that financial sense instilled in them. I think you did a great job.
And they do. And they have credit cards and they have Roth IRAs as teenagers. So they've learned how to do all of those things. So kind of shifting gears here, you are a physician, and I'd love to hear about your experiences as a physician and your thoughts on how the world of medicine has changed.
There are so many ways that medicine has changed, Rocky, mostly in terms of health delivery systems. When we first started in medicine, we spent a lot of time with our patients. We got to know them from a personal level. We got to hear the next installment because, let's face it, there is a lot that goes into somebody's recovery. Sometimes, they just need a person who is going to, physically have hands-on and show that they care. Sometimes they don't need medicine. They just need that caring aspect to make them recover. But now, with bureaucracy and disenfranchisement with digital records, now you get a quality 2 minutes FaceTime with your doctor, and you really have to do a lot of the research before you come into the doctor's office. You must bring your questions that you want to ask, the things that you want to focus on, and do your homework before you go to the doctor's office. On the other hand, a good benefit is that doctors no longer are made to feel that it's their way or the highway. It's not like they're the parent talking to the child. Now patients are part of a team, so that as a physician, instead of just saying, this is what you need to take and this is what you need to do, and that's it because I said so. Now it really is, well, this is what I consider your problem, and here is a whole host of options, both traditional and also perhaps alternative. And let's discuss which ones you, the patient, are most comfortable with. In doing that, you're going to have a healthier, more satisfied patient because, after all, they are being made to understand what's going on instead of walking away confused. And they're going to be more compliant because they're the ones that chose the treatment option. So, there are definite advantages as well as disadvantages. But as you know, with the pandemic going on now, most people are seeing their doctors online as opposed to seeing them in the office. Once the pandemic is over, that is not going to shift. People are very happy this way. It's like, after you've let the horse out of the barn, there's no going back. People don't want to have to spend a half an hour to an hour in traffic to get to the doctor's office, to sit in the waiting room, perhaps with sick people all around them. If it's something that can be resolved with a simple face-to-face online, they're going to want to continue to do that. And that, to me, is an advantage.
And that, unfortunately, was a restriction of the government that wouldn't allow you to bill for the phone call visits or for the video visits. And because of COVID, the government had to change the rules and allow you to do that, which has opened things up dramatically and brought about a shift. And so sometimes it's rules and regulations that prevent us from moving forward. And thankfully, they are getting shifted. Out of curiosity, do you see that most doctors have the same belief system you do of having the conversation with the patient about different options? Or do you think Is that commonplace behavior?
Well, Rocky, I think that for those that do not feel that way, they will not be in practice much longer. You know, medicine, unless you're an employee, like medicine is a business. As well as trying to heal people, it's also a business. And as such, that doesn't mean that you can stay in business. That's not a given. Because unless you're in an area where you're the only doctor for 500 miles around, if patients don't like how you respond, or they do not feel that for whatever reason you are not the doctor for them, they can always go to your colleague down the street. And a little secret that most doctors are not telling you is that there are a lot of doctors out there on the verge of bankruptcy, and that is before the pandemic. So if they don't evolve, then they're going to be prehistoric, and they're just going to not exist anymore. They're going to have to shutter their door and call it a day.
And that's true. In our area, we've seen many doctors sell out to the big systems, unfortunately, because it then turns into what I essentially call corporate medicine. It's no longer about the person, it's about the company. And I'm glad you brought up the fact that medicine is business, and people need to understand that doctors are running businesses, and that allows you to see why they do things the way they do, because they're doing it not always for your best interest, but for business reasons. And the more and more we go to corporate medicine, the more and more medicine is going to be treated from a business standpoint instead of actually from a health perspective or looking after you. And I kind of want to go in two directions here, but one of the things that you mentioned was people need to come with good questions. Do people normally do the research and come with good questions, or do they just show up and say, give me a pill?
Well, of course, you're going to get that too. Because you're saying that patients should be educated and informed, you're assuming that they are capable of doing so. But, when a person goes to their doctor as a consult and the doctor gives them the options, not everyone is capable of making that choice. Some patients are always going to say, listen, doc, you're the one with the education. You're the one with the experience. Don't give me all these options. I have no idea which one to choose. Just tell me what to do. So for that segment, that needs, that's what they want. But for many who want to be given the choice, I think that should be available to them as well. It depends upon the level of participation or the capability of that patient.
And I think for most people, they need to realize you need to participate in your healthcare. You need to be involved. And healthcare starts at the grocery store with how you fuel your body. And it starts at the gym with how you move your body. And if you do those things right and you take care of your health, you're less likely to need a doctor. And unfortunately, we've created a medical system where doctors don't have the time to, or the incentive to teach you how to be healthy. They're more there to fix the sickness, but not to look at you holistically, unfortunately, unless you go search out that type of physician who treats that way and specifically ask for and pay for that kind of help.
Well, I think you're right, Rocky, that most of being healthy or not comes from the proper lifestyle choices, and that the better choices a person makes, the more likely that their body will be able to rise up to the occasion and heal anything that pops up or, might not pop up along the way. And I think more doctors, even though they may not be just with a title of integrative or holistic are realizing that too. Although there are many types of integrative doctors that, go by the mission of spirit, body, and health for treating anything that they have. But it's not even treating; it's just a question of prevention, and to make sure that you are, with your lifestyle choices, able to achieve the maximum health that you possibly can.
And that becomes with intentionality and knowing what you want and taking those choices. One of the other things that you mentioned is for patients that sometimes they don't actually need treatment. They need to be heard and addressed. And I don't know if you ever watched the movie Patch Adams or if you know his story. But
I love that movie.
I got to see him speak in person years ago. And
I'm actually meeting him next month.
Oh, that is awesome.
I'm going to be sharing a stage with him at the CNN Center in Atlanta.
So can you share with the audience what his message is?
His message is that the true medical treatment is happiness and laughter. They say that humor is the best medicine, and it's still so true. Your own body will, help you heal, but you need to have that mindset of humor and happiness along the way to truly get better.
And that's true. And humor and happiness are free. They're not expensive, and you don't need insurance, and you don't need to get approval from somebody to be able to use that treatment. And I think that is so very true.
He had, can I keep talking? He had opened up a clinic in Pennsylvania, I believe and he named it Gesundheit, so that everyone who even mentions the name of the community would smile or laugh, bringing humor in immediately. And you know what? More people should really follow his lead.
And I very much agree with you on that. So you left medicine. Why did you choose to walk away?
Well, at this point, I really felt that I could better serve the medical community out there to help their patients, because unfortunately, most medical doctors are not very savvy when it comes to business. And they have great messages and great skills, but they can't convey that to the patients and the public. So I wanted to give them a voice, to help them promote themselves so that they in turn could actively participate in improving the health of the communities that they come from.
And that's very true. I've spent most of my life in the medical world from the opposite side, being on the opposite side of the table. And that was the number one thing that I noticed all the years is that even though medicine is a business, physicians aren't good business people. And in some senses, I was always wondering, why is this so? And over the years, I've learned that if you talk about money during medical school or residency, you're shunned. Nobody wants to have those conversations about business and money. And yet you've spent so much of your time and your life investing in your education. And at the end of the day, you are running a business, but nobody wants to talk about that part, which makes it very difficult for physicians. And so I realize what a sacrifice it is to be a doctor, and to be on call all the time and have to devote so much of your time to that. And unfortunately, they haven't been taught all the skills to be good about that. So it's awesome that you can help them because you understand their background. And then you've also learned the business side and the marketing side to be able to help them move forward.
Absolutely, Rocky. When I opened my doors to my practice, I didn't buy an existing practice. I started from scratch. So I found a space that I really liked, decorated it nicely, opened the doors. I'm ready for business, put out the proverbial shingle. And it didn't take me long to realize I don't have any patience. And so I needed to be able to market myself to let people know out there who and what I was so that they would come to me. Over the years, I went from having no patients to over 10,000 active patients. So what I could say is that hope is not a strategy. You have to get out and you have to market yourself. But when I ask doctors, do they market themselves? Most doctors would say, listen, I don't have the time. I don't have the budget. I don't have the knowledge. Is it ethical anyway? So what I explain to them is the following. Marketing is telling people what services you provide and where you're located. It's as simple as that. Can you imagine being a pediatrician, but you're not going to tell people what services you provide? Can you imagine saying, well, I treat various ailments and conditions for children, but I'm not going to tell you where the office is located? I mean, it sounds silly when you say it that way, doesn't it? Obviously, you need to be able to tell them, listen, I'm here, and I'm here for you, and this is what I could do for you, and these are the benefits that I could provide for you. And that's what marketing is all about. It's not just some mysterious, dark and dirty thing.
And the reality is, whether you're a doctor or whatever it is that you're doing, that's very true. I think people need to realize, whether you're a physician or whatever you do in life, the ability to market and sell yourself to the world is important. And I always tell people this. I even tell, because I used to do this for the Boy Scouts as well. I used to sell salesmanship. And when you've got a bunch of 14-year-old boys there and you want to talk about, how many of you wanted to be salesmen, raise your hand. No hands would go up, right? But then I would say to them, how many of you want to date? How many of you want your parents to buy you stuff? How many of you want, the ability to do the things you want, or get a job, or get into college? I said, all of that is salesmanship. All of that is marketing. And in today's world, essentially with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, you are a marketer and you have online platforms. And so what would you advise people, along with physicians? What are some of the basics of marketing yourself?
Well, I think what you need to sit down and ask yourself before any marketing takes place is you need to have a strategy. One of the first things you have to know is your avatar, or the person that you are promoting your services to. Who is it in the community that you serve? What does that person look like? What is their age? What is their gender? Where do they like to hang out? You need to, understand yourself better, and you understand, so that you can answer the question of, like, who is it that you are helping? Who are you serving by your services? Once you've answered that, then you have to ask yourself, what is it that people type in when they go to a Google search or they're surfing the web? What is it that they would type in to find you? Because if somebody is new to the community, they're not typing in your name. After all, they don't even know that you exist. What they're typing in is the service that you provide and where you're located. So they may say, I'm looking for an orthopedist who does knee replacements in the LA area. They're not just typing in doctor, because they'll get a list of over 3,000. They're not just putting in orthopedist, because if you're in LA, You don't care about the ones that are located in Maine or Michigan, unless you happen to live in Maine or Michigan. So what is it that people are typing in to find you specifically? Once you've answered that, then you've answered that those are your keywords. And you would want to be known for those keywords so that you will pop up online. You will want to have that as part of your URL or any communication that you put out digitally. You would want to have those keywords in it so that not only people that you serve will find you, but the search engines will understand who and what you represent as well. Otherwise, you'll wind up on page 25 or 30 of a search, which means you might as well not exist. People do not look beyond the first page and maybe half of the second page. They're just not. If you're on, buried like further down, it's like you're not there.
And that's true. Business owners have to learn how to do all of these different things or find someone to do it for them. So I know doctors are busy and many of our listeners may be busy in other parts of life. If you can't do it yourself, find the experts who are good at this to help you put you at the top of the line. And one of the things that I've found very interesting is the further you go down the first page, the faster the dramatic drop off in the amount of clicks you get. So let's say that the first listing gets 100 clicks. The second listing might only get 20 or 30 clicks. And the third listing might only go down to 5 clicks. And the fourth listing gets 1 click. And that's why people spend so much time and effort in trying to secure that top spot, because it makes a dramatic difference in business. And so this is an important thing to always keep in mind for business owners.
Absolutely, Rocky. And the thing is, just because you don't have the time or knowledge about doing it, it doesn't mean that you don't have to have it. It's what we call outsource. That's the magic word, outsource. After all, if you were a surgeon, you might still need a dermatologist when you get a rash. You need to go to the people who have trained knowledge about it. And, to not having a mentor is just short-sighted. Look, even Tiger Woods, to this day, even in his heyday when he was number one golfer, he still had a swing coach. Venus Williams, even though she won all of the Opens everywhere, still had a swing coach. She still had another coach who maybe gave her the psychological edge. She had another coach that had to exercise. When I spoke to Anthony Hopkins one day, he said on any given day, he has at least 7 different coaches at all times. And so to think that you can, you may exist in business, but to thrive in business without a mentor or without a coach or somebody that could help you out in the areas that you don't do is just being very short-sighted.
And that is so very important. And it's funny because people don't realize that the people at the top are the most likely to ask for help and support. We all think the opposite, that the people at the top have figured it all out and they don't need help. And it's actually the exact opposite. I was just reading an email this morning. They were talking about Michael Jordan, and this person was he was some sort of a coach. And he emailed the entire team except for Michael Jordan to offer his services. And he didn't email Michael because he figured Michael doesn't need help. And he said nobody on the team reached back out to him, but Michael Jordan did. And so it's a significant shift. People who are at the top of their game surround themselves with a support team and have people in place to hold them accountable, push them forward, and make those micro changes that bring about dramatic success. And I think that's what people need to realize. it's not big things that make a vast difference in life. It's the little teeny things that you constantly correct, improve, and keep showing up and doing day after day.
Absolutely, Rocky. I have a saying about that. You are only one tweak away from greatness.
And we had an episode that you are only one conversation away from greatness, which is the same thing, right? Have the conversation, make the tweak, and go be great. It's time to learn the secrets of life. What's your secret to living an abundant life?
My secret to living an abundant life is to have gratitude in your heart, to be grateful for everything that you have, and to be grateful to all of the people in your life. I think that, without having that, nothing else has any meaning whatsoever, and anything you have really is meaningless. It's the gratitude for the people in your life and the things that you already have that give you abundance.
And that is so true. I'm always grateful for the little things in life because we just take them for granted. And if we have a little bit more gratitude, life is definitely much better. What did you learn later in life that you wish you would have learned sooner?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think that if I had learned earlier on not to worry about what other people thought, or not to worry about being different and standing out, I think would have brought success at an earlier age.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how we worry about what everyone else thinks. And then we treat ourselves horribly when we look at that inner talk that we have, and learning to fix that definitely helps to achieve a much greater life. If you were to give an 18-year-old one specific piece of wisdom, what would it be?
As an 18, for an 18-year-old, I would say to, always try to better yourself, to learn something new every day, to push forward, and to try to every day be better as a person than you were the day before.
And it comes back to those tiny little steps. I think a lot of people forget that when you get out of school, you have to continue to learn. And I always use the example of physicians and say, imagine a physician who graduated, from his fellowship 20 years ago. If he didn't keep learning about new medical advances and new ways of doing things, you probably wouldn't want that doctor because they were using 20-year-old ideas. And yet, how many of us as people have a learning and education plan in adulthood that we're constantly learning and improving? So great advice. If people would like to connect with you, find out more, learn about your services, what's the best way for them to do that?
One of the best ways to learn about my services would be to go to my website, The Medical Strategist, that's STRATEGIST.com. And I have a gift for all of your listeners today, Rocky, and that is they could go to Barbara at The Medical Strategist for a gift that I'm giving. And that is for each person that requests it, I'm giving a free 8-minute audit of their website. Let's find out how your website is functioning for you.
And thank you for sharing that. Do you just do that for physicians, or would that be for any business owner?
Any business owner that requests that, that's my gift to you and to them.
Oh, thank you so much for offering that. And I always tell people, when someone gives you something for free, take it. Just take advantage of it. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
And thank you for giving me that opportunity. I had a lot of fun.
The world of medicine has changed. In our area, it's mostly run by big corporations who pretend to be caring nonprofits. You have to be part of the medical team and ask questions about why you're being told to take certain medications and what the alternatives are. I spent close to 30 years in the medical field, and I've seen the changes firsthand. I also see the financial drivers behind the scenes. Can you imagine bankrupt doctors? It's a shame, but it's becoming a reality. Not to mention the suicide rates are up. The current epidemic hasn't helped either. They also have to deal with societal pressures around money. I've never encouraged my kids to be doctors. Good health starts with a healthy mindset and the idea that pills don't solve problems, and sometimes surgery is not the best alternative, depending on the situation. Spend time understanding what it means to really be healthy. We've had some episodes on the topic, and you may want to go back and listen to them. Our next episode is Building a 7-Figure Business with Tom Gaddis. Stay tuned. If you're interested in being on podcasts or you host a podcast, check out Podmax. I'll put a link in the show notes for you. If I can help you live a more profitable life, reach out and let's chat. I do really well with helping doctors because I've spent so much time around them and I understand their systems. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.